Well, hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Love Machine podcast. I'm your host, James Preece, the dating guru, and today we're diving deep into one of the most crucial aspects of dating, communication. In the early stages of dating, communication can either make or break your chances of success. But when is the right time to have those important conversations? And how do you make sure you're on the same page before taking things to the next level? To help us navigate these tricky waters, I'm joined by a truly amazing guest, Mary Kate Murphy. Mary Kate is an expert relationship coach and a premier matchmaker, specialising in up-leveling communication styles for both men and women. Her highly personalised approach helps connect clients with the partner of their dreams while equipping them with the skills needed to maintain a healthy, passionate relationship. Mary Kate will be sharing some fantastic insights on how mastering communication can set you up for success not only in dating, but in life. And did you know that 65% of relationships fail due to poor communication? That is a truly staggering statistic. But the good news is you can do something about it. So this episode is all about giving you the tools you need to connect better, communicate clearly, and create lasting love. Get ready for a great conversation. Let's go for it. Let's just dive in now. Mary Kate, how are you doing?
Wow. Well, thank you for that intro. That was amazing, James. That was awesome.
Thank you. And I used to read it out without making a mistake, which is always a good start, isn't it? Communication today is the key.
It is. And then when you say it with the British accent, it just sounds better.
Thank you very much. Well, I've introduced you. So can you tell my listeners a bit more about you and how you got into this and what you do?
Sure. So, I will always get the question, what got you into matchmaking? And I say, I got divorced. So I had to go back to the drawing board and figure it all out myself. And, this is where I was really on a mission. I didn't want to make the same mistake twice. And I knew that fundamentally, communication is the downfall of, well, you said 65%. Yeah, the vast majority of relationships, and people can say money and that too. And it can be, but it also is the communication around money too. And so that, was the biggest pillar in my dating plan when I created my own dating plan when I got divorced, because I didn't want to go dating, throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping it all stuck. So I want to go with a plan to measure my results. And fortunately it landed me the love of my life 2.5 months later. And, from the get-go, and he'll still quote it to this day. He's like, I'll never forget, my husband now, I'll never forget how much you stress the importance of communication. And he's like, and he gives me all the accolades. So you, babe. I'm like, no. It's you too, because I not only stressed it, but you actually ran with it. You took me seriously. You weren't like, okay, sure, communication. But yeah, I'm pretty obsessed about the big old communication when it comes to relationships and dating.
I have to ask what your dating plan was.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Your dating plan. What did your dating plan involve?
So good question. It consists of 3 pillars. Well, the foundation is communication. So to be able to properly communicate these things is important. But the first one is really doing that deep dive into the past. I was married in my case. You don't have to be married. Any breakups, past relationships, really pinpointing those qualities that attracted you to these partners. Okay. Yeah. Positive qualities, like a bad boy that doesn't cut it. Like, the positive qualities that attract you to these individual partners, and then also they're in the past for the reason. So what were the qualities that also ultimately led to the breakup? It takes 2 to tango. So it's also acknowledging your role, taking accountability, how you reacted, maybe whatever, maybe lack of boundaries you had or lack of communication, and also in your partner. So that's 1. 2, doing a deep dive within yourself, really becoming self-aware. Taking the time to reflect on, what do I bring to the table? What are the good qualities? Why would someone want to date me? Really doubling down on that. Too often in dating, James, I don't know if you see this, but people really make it an act for pinpoint the bad things, like that they have, oh, how am I going to fix that? And there's a time and place for that, but I think really double down on what makes you, what makes you beautiful, unique. So that is the second pillar. And then the third is your vision for the future. How does it align with this other person, that you're dating? Where do you want to be in 5 years, 2 years? Are you guys on the same wavelength? Because if someone is hardcore entrepreneur and wants to spend the rest of their life working, they never imagine themselves retired, and you're trying to retire by 50 to, those are 2 different futures. So past, who you are, present, and also what you want in the future.
We're so aligned there because I teach all my clients exactly those things as well. So
Ah,
I understand the importance of that, of working out what maybe have happened in the past, and then working out what you have to offer, and then working out that your life goals are aligned. Because if you want to go off and have children, for example, and they don't, that's the wrong person right from the start. And
yes.
communication can solve that problem very quickly if
Yes.
you're willing to do this. Some people are too scared to have that conversation at any point. But I want to
Mhm.
ask you, we'll talk about communication today. You said you were married before. What problems did you experience then when it came to communication that you've learned from?
Oh, good question, James. So like I always say, it takes two to tango. There were a handful of like prominent issues we had, and the communicator over here was like, let's talk about it, let's explore it. And it's really hard to do that when the other person doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And so that made it very challenging, yeah, to move forward and feel like we're resolving these issues, but we weren't because, yeah, one person wanted to and the other person didn't. Or we just kind of be passive about it, like just ignore it, it'll go away kind of thing. And that it never goes away.
No.
Yeah, so that was unfortunate. So no, that was like, as you can tell, when I told my husband now, it's like that was such a crucial quality that he had to embrace. If not, he wasn't you don't need to be an expert at it, but at least be better at it and to improve it.
That's great. So, what did your new husband, your current husband, it sounds bad, doesn't it? Current husband, your husband, what
Yeah,
does
I know,
he
right?
do? How does he communicate? What could he teach other guys and people out there?
He is so amazing. He's better at me at it now. I feel like. So we both acknowledge our styles, if he's going through an issue, like at work, and he's a pretty mellow dude, he doesn't usually go through a lot of issues, but if he were to, because since he's communicated to me respectfully, hey, when you see me going through something, please leave me alone. Like
Right.
I have to go, like it's not an issue between us, like something's going on with work or maybe one of his mom or please just give me the space and know that I will come talk to you when I'm ready, and it's my duty to respect that,
Mhm.
and so he knows through communication, he knows how I deal with things. He knows that like when he sees me upset, he comes talks to me like, hey, what's going on, like he will be proactive about it. And I love that. And when we have issues, like he literally like sees it from all angles. He just doesn't like put his feet in only in his shoes. No, he sees it from my point too. And he's just understanding, and the big C word, guys, in relationships, at the end of the day, there is a level of compromise, as long as you are not compromising your values.
Mm.
But there is compromise in relationships. So, but he always is just hearing me out, and trying to find that solution together from all the angles, not from just what he wants.
That's such a great answer. I love that. I think they're all absolutely valid skills to have. And I think listening is a big part of communication as well. If you have to listen to what that person's saying and really take that on board. So many people don't listen, do they?
You're right. They make up the scenarios, the theories in their head
Yeah.
while detracting from what the person's actually saying.
They do. And they fill in the gaps. And you mentioned about red flags and people think things are going to go wrong. People do that. They worry and they think, well, things are happening when they're not happening. And if you don't communicate this and don't express that, then these things are going to happen eventually because you're going to make them a self-fulfilling prophecy, aren't you?
And it's so true. And James, let's also talk about how easy it is to assume
Yeah.
that we think we know what the other person's thinking. Oh, we've been here before, And so and what does that do? That smothers our motivation to communicate. Because we think,
Yeah.
well, we already know what they're gonna do. And I'll catch myself. I'm like, Mary Kate, dude, like, come on, like he's
Yeah.
human. He has a right to change, like, like. So I think that really is a pitfall for a lot of relationships, and it really detracts their motivation to talk because they're like, I already know this person. I already know what's gonna happen.
I think that's harder for us being coaches as well, because we do
Mm.
have to read people and understand and try and work out what they're thinking before they even say things. So in a marriage, that could be quite a tricky thing. I often
Yeah.
think I know what my wife's thinking. I can tell her what she's thinking before she's even doing it. But that's quite insulting, really, if you overanalyze it too much. But I do it with a jokey way, humour, to diffuse issues and diffuse conversations. I will
Mhm.
know that I will make it. I think humour is a very important part of communication in the
Yeah.
right circumstances. Not always. I am
Yeah.
not always laughing and joking, but I think humour is a big part of this.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do. And I think yeah, you need to just be lighthearted, like with all of it, not take it so seriously. But
Mm.
and also know it, know your style. Like, how do you want to be talked to? And communicate that up front, but first know how you want to, a lot of times for me, I need time. Like, I need time to just like get perspective, like this whole like, we talked in the early stages, like we're never one to yell, we're never one to be really emotional and
Mm.
what's the word? Like just emotional. Like, I mean, let's be honest, women tend to be more emotional, Fortunately, I'm not that type of woman. My husband always says I'm a unicorn, but like, hey, I have my moments though too, but I always need time. And he always will give it like no need to rush any argument, try to, oh, we gotta resolve this tonight. Says who?
Yeah.
Says who? If you're feeling emotional and whatever, not yourself, then no need. Yeah.
I agree. And something else you said earlier about how your husband or men in general do this, I think. We, when we're having arguments or issues or anything we have to think about, we will retreat and we'll go into our man cave, go and lock ourselves in the shed or go for a walk. Or some people go to the pub. I don't do that, but they will go there and they will
Yeah.
need their space. And space and is a very, very important part of communication too, because it's better to
Hmm.
go and get your space and to reflect on what's important to you than to be confrontational and to be in the moment and to start antagonizing each other.
Yeah, leading nowhere. Leading
Yeah,
nowhere. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, man, that's something I'm not talked about enough. Like what the art of communication also involves silence and
it
space.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Space
Good
is a
point.
very powerful thing when it comes to relationships. It really is.
Mm.
I talk about that quite a lot. But
Do
you're right,
you?
silence is. And it's when silence is merited. If you're being silent and you're just being stubborn and not answering, or you're being awkward or deliberately not giving information,
Impressive.
that's the wrong type of silence.
Yeah.
But the good type is when you're reflecting and you're listening and you're using that to think about what you really want and what you can do to
Yeah.
make your partner happy. So
Yeah.
space is a good thing, mostly
Yes.
overall.
Yes, I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Good. Let's talk about people, maybe some clients now, or people in general who are new to dating and
Hmm.
they don't know the person's communication style. They don't know who they're dealing with. Maybe we're talking first of all about maybe online dating and then the first dates and then beyond. What advice do you have for people who are just starting out to meet people to learn about communication?
Ooh, good question. Well, I think well, let's take us back first. Communicate with yourself. What am I looking for? Don't go into dating. Time and time again after a breakup, people are like, I just gotta distract, and that's fine too. There's a healthy, exposure to that. As long as you're honest with the people you're talking to, not looking for anything serious, because you shouldn't be looking for anything serious immediately after a breakup. You just shouldn't, because there's a healing stage involved. And anyway, so not to go too much on a tangent, but first communicate with yourself. What are you looking for? Spend some time alone, spend some time casually dating too, because a lot of times that will show you what you're looking for, Um, so then when you feel like confident, nope, I know what I want. I've got my list of qualities and non-negotiables. Then get out there and like I'd say if you're intentionally dating, then you kind of got to treat it like a part-time job. Like, you don't have, I mean, that's a lot of time, but
Mm.
you expose yourself, so be on the dating apps, engage in friendship circles or meetups, go to networking events, be in places, even ask for, colleagues, like, hey, do you happen to know anyone? Like, really put yourself out there because would you agree with me? Like, it is a numbers game, more conversations.
It
More.
is. It's about quality rather than quantity,
It
but
is.
you have to put yourself in the situations in the first place and meet people in order to work that out in the first place. Because
Mhm.
the apps are a great tool, they provide you the opportunity to meet people, but there's a lot of people on there that aren't going to be suitable. So I tell
Yeah.
people, being a numbers game, if you're new to dating, go out there and do everything you possibly can. Go and do all
Mhm.
the things. Go to the friendship groups to say. Go to the gym. Go and take up new hobbies. Go to singles events. If you can
Yes.
afford it, go to a matchmaker. Do these
Yes.
things because that will fast track it. If you're completely new to dating and you don't know what to expect or how to communicate, then absolutely go and have some practice. And I actually think that speed dating is a good way to practice that when it comes to
Mhm.
communication, because maybe people haven't spoken to someone on a dating basis for quite some time. So,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on singles events and speed
Oh,
dating?
well, I host a lot. So yeah, my,
Do
my
you?
thoughts are
Okay.
absolutely
Yeah.
go for them. Actually had one, well, scheduled one this past weekend and we had to postpone it for 3 weeks because we had a good amount of signups. We had about 15, but only 3 men. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's just not fair to the attendees. Yeah, so we're out there recruiting quality men. So anyone listening in Miami in 3 weeks, the event for you.
Right.
But yeah, I love those events because not only do well, in my events in particular, I don't know all singles events, but in mine, I really talk to I give dating strategies and tips, how to really present yourself in a very attractive way, and so dating is presentation, it's first impressions, they can really make a big difference. So really, the more you're doing it, the more you're practicing it, and the more likely you will stand out. So yeah, and sorry, and I don't think I fully answered your question about the dating apps and communication in the beginning. Yeah. So please, well, address what not to do. Don't be like everyone else, which is how's your day going? How are you? How was your weekend? The point of dating is also to stand out because there's never been more singles than in 2024. There's never been more people singles and not in relationships. And so that's a lot of people. You got to stand out from the masses. And so having the right quality of questions really can make a difference. So that the good icebreaker can just catch that tension. You want to catch their attention, and then asking like thought-provoking, not surface level questions and in meaningful conversations.
I'm going to say to you, such as what? What do you think are good questions? People often
Yeah.
ask me this question, so I'd like to ask your opinion on that.
Yeah. So if you're on the dating apps, then please, unless you've got, your template, I mean, contact me if you'd like a template. I have lots of templates on icebreakers, but unless you don't have that, the first place you should be looking is their profile. What picture caught your eye? Was it them on that large mountain or on a sailboat? Like, do you love the water? How often do you go out? Or is it them, something in their profile about what they do for work? I don't know, civil engineer or something. I mean, it could be anything, what inspired you to go into that? Let's say you're born and you can see from their profile in New York, live in Miami. Hey, what brought you to Miami? Yeah. What motivated the move to come down here? Just these aren't your surface level questions. It's trying to get to genuinely know the person. And then also ultimately, like a great question to be asking on the apps is, what are you looking to get out of being on the apps? Just cut to the chase.
Absolutely agree. I'm going to add something to this as well for anyone listening. Keep your conversation relatively short to start with, because what tends to happen with messages, you probably see this as well. Somebody will ask a question. They'll say, for example, where did you go to school? And they'll answer the place they went to school and ask another question. Then they'll say, oh, where did you go to school? What happens is you build up longer and longer messages where you have to answer the previous questions and then ask new ones, and you end up with a massive long paragraph that ultimately might lead nowhere. So don't enter into pen pal situation where you're endlessly answering questions. Focus on what you want, and if you like what you see, communicate by going out and actually meeting them quickly.
Yeah, and try not to do open-ended questions. Excuse me, close-ended questions. Where it's like exactly like, where'd you go to school? Like Stanford. Like, where'd you go? Like, and try more open-ended. There's more depth and more likelihood to lead somewhere different, than just the one-worded responses.
I agree. And again, use humor if you can, because if they don't get your sense of humor, then it's not the right person for you anyway. And
that's a big one. Yeah. So James, I don't know if you know this, but I work the apps, for my clients. And so I'm behind the scenes. And I tell you, the guys who are using the humor from out of the gate, they're always, the green light.
I know. I teach my clients that, and they think, I wish they could just learn it from me immediately and learn these skills. I think it takes a long time to get this good, doesn't it? To practice. But that's why we're teaching people that. And I think it's good to have maybe a male and a female perspective for that, how that will work. We ought to do a podcast on that. We could just message people. I'm going to do a live between us. Just do that. That'd be really cool. Yeah.
I would love that, actually. No, I'm not joking. I could do that. We'd be right here back and forth.
We can do that on TikTok, can't we? That would be a really cool thing. Let's thought.
We could do a dual live on TikTok. I love it.
We'll find someone's profile. If anyone's listening to this, hopefully people are listening to it, you're on TikTok, send one of us your dating profile, your TikTok profile. We'll have a conversation and we'll get together and we will do this. We will both male and female opinions, different sides of the world. We'll give you our opinion. There you go. That's something. That's communication solved, isn't it?
I love it.
There you go.
I love it.
Let's both plug our TikToks as we're into that now, because we're down with the kids, aren't we? Which is really cool. Right, let's go on to a serious question that was in my mind a minute ago before I forget it, as I normally do. Okay, we've got a couple here who've been dating for quite some time, and they like where it's going, or at least one of them does, don't know where they stand. How do you communicate that you want this to be something a bit more serious? And how do you communicate that maybe you want it to be a full-blown official relationship?
Keep it simple. Are you seeing anyone else right now? Yeah, are you seeing anyone else right now? I mean, at this point, to even ask that question, though, let me give some background. I would assume that you would have the initial conversation, which is the first most important one, which is, what do you want? Like, so what are you using the dating apps for? Like, what are you looking for? Like, those are pretty basic questions. Like, those should be had relatively early on, So if someone said, like, if they're vague in their answer, like, I don't know, like, they could be honest and just say, I'm having fun, which is great. Kudos to being honest these days, but if they're vague in their answer, like, I'll know if the right one comes along, like, okay, so he's having fun or she's having fun, but know what they want first and foremost, and that's that, because, and some people are actually the really smart ones are the ones who are honest. Say, hey, I just got a breakup 2 months ago. I'm still not really ready for anything serious, So that's your sign. If you're looking for something serious, then pivot to the next person, But yeah, at some point, asking that question, if you have already had this conversation, wow, we both want the same relationship goals. Okay, this is feeling pretty good. Like, we got some good chemistry going. And yeah, he or she meets, some of my non-negotiables I'm looking for. Then have the question, like, just, are you seeing anyone else right now? And if they say yes, and you say, all right, I understand. And you have to be okay with that, or say, yeah, I'm just looking for something more serious right now. I don't know if we're 100% aligned. So I understand if you want to continue to see other people. Like, don't pressure them. The last thing you need to do is, like, because that's going to will probably completely turn them off, or like just make them feel really awkward, So give them their space for them to decide. And my husband did the same thing. Yeah. Are you seeing anyone right now? I said, I am. Yeah, I am. I'm seeing other people as well. He didn't want to hear that. He had cut it off with the 2 other women he was talking to before. But then, like, I don't know, 2 weeks went by and he asked again. I said, no, I'm not seeing anyone else, because I knew the direction I was going. But yeah, just have that good old fashioned conversation and be ready to hear the truth, and be ready to now make up your decision. What am I going to do with that truth? Like, already plan these scenarios out in your head ahead of time. But what happens, and too often with women, is that, we don't get the answer we want, but then we continue, and then we continue to complain.
That's so true. I would say, what is the worst that's going to happen if you have the conversation, if you want it to be official? They will say yes to you, hopefully. If they say no, then that's your answer. At least you can eliminate them and stop wasting time with that wrong person. And honesty is absolutely the best thing you can hear at that stage. Someone that says to you, oh yeah, that sounds great, I'd love to be official with you, and then they go off and still date other people behind your back, that's much worse. I think dating apps, though, but going back to communication, people don't tend to state on there what they're really looking for. They might say they like to have cuddles, they might say something a bit more hinting of what they want, more casual relationships, but they don't say I'm looking for a serious relationship, I'm looking to have children and get married. People don't write these things. They just write nonsense in their profiles. Oh, I don't like eating bananas, for example. So
yeah, like they're trying to be like funny. Yeah. I mean, I see it all. Like, I've seen definitely some men say, like, no, I'm looking for, long-term relationship. I'm husband material. I'm just looking for someone to cash me in or something.
Cash me in. Yeah, right.
Like, they try to make funny banter about it, but no, I do see, and they have the option to check, like, just looking for something fun and casual, just looking for friendship, just looking for long-term relationship, looking for marriage. So hopefully they're being honest, but also at the same rate, ladies who are listening, know that guys want swipes. So they're probably going to be more apt to always put long-term relationship, and it doesn't always mean that.
That's what I was about to say. I thought you can't entirely be trusting of what men write in their profiles. They know if they just write casual fun, they're going to get a lot less people interested. They may be open to this, but generally want some fun. And that's when communication comes into this. Don't put too much pressure on too early on. But if you like them and things are going well, then have that conversation relatively earlier than maybe you would with someone that you were absolutely sure wants something a bit more serious. Because I think what men will do, if men like you and they think they feel comfortable and safe with you, then they will stop looking. Because mature man knows what they want, and when they meet that person, I did with my wife. I was dating 3 women at the time, met my wife, cut the other ones off straight away. They
Yeah.
didn't all know about it immediately, but but I did. I did that.
They kind of like, he's not messaging me or calling me as often as he used to.
It was something like that. It was a bit more complicated than that, but it was how it was. But I think, yeah, communicate that to them. If you want something serious, find out. You don't want to ask on a first date, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? You don't necessarily want to ask that. But then you can communicate and say, well, are you close to your family? Do you have any
Yeah.
nephews or nieces? And see how they respond.
Yes. Oh no, I'm a big believer, James, of listening to what's meant, not what's said. You
Yes.
have to like, but again, as I got into this world, of dating coaching, like what I always took for granted, like what I thought was obvious is not so obvious to everyone,
No.
to really read between the lines. But yeah, there's certain questions, like even like these days, a big topic that comes up, I don't want to date anyone with childhood trauma, okay, so like someone responded months ago to a video I did, and it was something like, yeah, I just asked them straight away, like, so what childhood trauma do you have? I'm like, what? Where's your poise? So a quick question you can ask, to try to just delve a little bit into getting some sense of whether or not they have is, yeah, what's your favorite childhood memory?
Mm.
I'm curious. Yeah. Like I remember like my favorite was like going to my grandparents, and yeah, just we did it every weekend or whatever, and yeah, and most people with childhood trauma don't have many childhood memories. Yeah. I tend to block that out. So there's things that there's and nuances that you get to pick up by just more actively listening, and asking better questions. Yeah. Oh yeah, like you're not gonna ask your credit score on the first date, but like there's some questions you can gauge, like their relationship with money, like they drive a really nice car, like, wow, you must be really into cars and whatever, and see what they say. Like, oh man, I spent my whole life savings on this, or I don't know, but yeah, or just like, hey, so if you got $1 million tomorrow, what would you do with it?
Yeah.
The person who spends it all, like maybe they're the spender type, or rather than saver. So, yeah.
That's where communication is very important when that happens. If you're different types, I think anything you mentioned compromise. If there's anything like that, then you eventually will find your way with the right person, and you will have the conversations, and you will find a healthy balance between these situations. We had
Yeah.
to in my household, but I won't go into that. But yeah,
That's
I'm very much a
beautiful.
saver. My wife will spend the money before it's even left her purse. That's what will happen. So we have to be very careful with that, but in a nice way, and realize the balance and budget, and it works out. But that's from
Exactly.
communication.
And there, see, balance it, like that wouldn't happen without communication.
No, yeah.
What are expectations? These are the bills at the end of the month, the end of the week. This is what typically is coming in, what do we, it's just that honest conversation, and hey, you want this, how do you expect us to get that?
That's it. And then
Yeah.
even communication, I would say being grateful. This is not coming down to my wife again, this is just general thought, but saying thank you and being appreciative if someone makes the effort for you. If they dress up nicely or do their hair and makeup, and if they take you out for dinner, be grateful and say thank you. Communication is so important. Because like you said, often it's not what you're saying, it's what you're not saying. And
Mm.
that's important because men need to hear these things and women need reassurance. So the combined, there's nothing wrong with being grateful and saying thank you. I appreciate you took the time to do that, because
Yeah.
this comes into love languages to some degree, but it's true. People like to be appreciated and be respected, and it can be very disrespectful if you don't communicate your gratitude or your just how you're thinking. And
Yeah.
even being present in the moment is important. This
I
leads me
agree.
nicely. See what I've done here. Leads me nicely onto my next question, which is this.
Yeah.
I always ask my guests about their daily habits and routines and how they can be present in each day and make the most of it. See,
Mhm.
that's how it ties in now. So I'd like to ask you, do you have any daily habits and routines?
Yes, I do. This has been a daily habit for, I don't know, 7 years now. Um, and there's been very nuanced, I mean, variations of it, but it's always remained the same. I get up, I meditate. Big fan of Deepak Chopra. So I meditate from anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes a day in the morning, first thing. And then I do my daily gratitudes. Before I had a journal, I would write them down. And now I look out, I have this window, and it's right where the sun's coming up. So I look out, in front of that window, get the light, just revitalizing, waking up the sleepy eyes. And yeah, and I just go through, like, do 2 or 3 minutes of everything I'm grateful for. And it's like, and I do it as if like I have it now, but there's some things I'm working towards. And I say, I'm so grateful that I have it. I don't say, although I don't have it, I say, I have it. Like it's done,
Yeah.
and that just starts my day. Then the kiddos, and then I exercise first thing in the morning. After, if they're at their dad, then I go exercise right away. If they're with me, then they breakfast school, and then I go exercise.
How do you have time to do all that with children? Because I don't.
I prioritize it. I really do. Like I get up earlier, but if you think about it, it's not that much. It's only about like 25 minutes I'm dedicating to this routine. And if I'm feeling achy, then I'll do a little 5-minute stretch, but yeah, I tell you, James, and in the last 7 years I've been doing it, there've been some pockets, of chapters where I'm not doing this consistently, and I'm off my axis. Like I'm not feeling centered. Yeah.
Well, that's about balance again, isn't it? I think we need to ground ourselves, and that works really well.
Always. And when it comes to dating, it's about balance. I think the last 2 clients I've had, they were both married, long-term marriages. And they both, and I don't know if you can speak to this too, and this is kind of going off the kind of communication that we've been talking about, but they feel this immediate need almost, like after they've done some healing work, and whether that be 1 month for one, I don't know, everyone's got their own timeline, so I'm not going to judge that. But then it's like this, like, I gotta be in a relationship. And I don't know if it's because an identity thing, because they've had these long marriages for a good chunk of their lives. So yeah, I don't know. Do you deal with that with clients where it's like, I'm just saying back to the balance thing, where it's like, it's happening. Like it's going to be happening. Like as long as you are showing up for yourself in your daily life, you're not putting off living just for dating, you're still pouring into you. You've got a routine. It's going to happen, but I know it's hard to hear.
I believe, and I tell all my clients this, that before you can go and find somebody else, or you can take on a new relationship, you've got to be in touch with who you are. You've got to communicate with yourself, communicate with your desires, communicate with your happiness. And this is an important foundation. And you're absolutely right. You've got to go out and you've got to start taking action to do that, whatever it involves. But you have to be enough on your own and to realize that you're comfortable. You don't need to be in a relationship. You're not there to go and find your other half, not someone to complete you. You are enough on your own. But that's a whole podcast in itself about being enough. Or a TikTok, perhaps. But that's what it's about. I think that's what you have to do. And most people who are taking action to go and meet someone, as long as you don't put the pressure on yourself and you don't do too much, or you don't get frustrated and don't get burnt out from it, you will find somebody. Because there's so many wonderful people out there.
That's a TikTok we should do. How to avoid dating burnout.
Yeah, it is. That's an important topic. But we will do some TikToks. We'll do some more podcasts. Wonderful to have you on here. I will round this off now. I know you're so busy. You're welcome. How does someone get hold of you? How do they find out more about you?
Yes, go ahead and follow me on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, MK Matchmaking. Yes, we have a free workshop coming up, actually. I was going to charge. I'm like, no, let me just give it away for free and let people be able to attract and pull in more quality, high value, if you want to call it, singles. So it's a guarantee. After this workshop, it's a guarantee that people will be going on dates with more high quality singles. So that's coming up in November. MK Matchmaking on Instagram. You'll get all the details.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'll put that in the notes as well, of course. Absolute pleasure talking to you. I really enjoyed it, as we have done before. I will get you on the podcast again very soon. Hopefully we'll do some TikToks. Have a great day.
Can't wait, James.
Bye for now.
Take care.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.